Thank you all for being here, and I'm happy to introduce Sue Miller, who's going to tell you a little bit about herself and then talk to us about what's happening with LifeWise. Thank you, Sue, for coming.
Thanks, Debbie. I'm sorry, you guys. I am a substitute teacher, and I am at Canal Winchester High School in a teacher prep room. So there might be teachers coming in and out to make copies, or it gets a little loud in the hallway at class change. But I'm just starting a long-term assignment here today. So I live in Upper Arlington. I got very interested in what was going on with public education when I became a substitute teacher a few years ago. I don't have a background in teaching. I have a background in telecommunications. But anyway, I got involved in the Vouchers Heard Ohio effort, and myself and two friends in Upper Arlington, Betsy O'Brockton, Jim Collier, the three of us worked on our school board for almost 2 years to finally get Upper Arlington to join the lawsuit. That made pretty big news because Upper Arlington seems to think that they're not impacted, but every district is impacted. But anyway, when we finally got that passed through our school board, I was kind of looking for where I was going to take my interest and effort. And I knew I wanted it to be in education. And about that time, I read an article in the paper about LifeWise Academy. Specifically, it was about their lawsuit against Zachary Parrish, who had formed and is still the founder of Parents Against LifeWise. They also have recently changed their name to Secular Education Association. Anyway, that's where I met my friend Jess. Shedeker is also on this call, and she is in New Jersey. And she's kind of like the operations end of our new group that we've formed. I think it's really important to explain why we split from Parents Against LifeWise and now SEA, Secular Education Association. And I'm going to keep it really simple. It's complicated, it's emotional, it's egos. But I'm going to keep it really simple and say we are all working toward the same goal. That is to slow down and hopefully eventually stop the expansion of LifeWise. Their approach to it is a little bit different than ours. So again, we're still working on the same goal. What they're doing is we're working in parallel, I would say. They're also raising awareness. So several of us split off, Jess and I, and one of the other key players that split off, his name's Keith Comer, and he is in Tiffin, Ohio, and he's the one that created and maintains the LifeWise expansion map. And his organization is called Respect Public Schools. So we actually have someone joining us today from North Carolina. They are currently, and I don't know how familiar you guys are with this, but North Carolina is currently a May state. School districts may release kids for religious instruction. And they are currently have legislation pending that would change them to a shall state. So that's Sharon. She's on with us, and then Jess and I are going to be meeting with the North Carolina folks in the next few days. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background. Jess, you want to say anything about yourself?
No, I'm just here to support you and do screen shares. So
okay, great.
I will say I lived in Central Ohio for a long time after I went to Ohio State. So I do feel very emotionally invested in, helping Ohio as much as possible. And it really breaks my heart to hear everyone say how just hopeless they feel, which I understand you all have been in this fight longer than anyone. I also want to just throw this out there because we have the resources of the Respect Public Schools map, and we'll go over that. If LifeWise's number one advantage right now is that nobody knows about them nationally. So if you have family or friends that live in other parts of the country, I really, really encourage you to go to the map. If you see LifeWise in any step above 0 near them, I really urge you to contact them and give them a heads up, because I guarantee you they have probably no idea.
Yep. So what we're going to start with to get everybody on a level playing field is I don't know how to call it any different, so I'm just going to call it the anti-LifeWise group out of Oldham County, Kentucky, put together a really good short 3-minute video. I think Deb sent it to you guys, but we're going to play a 3-minute video just in case y'all haven't seen it. And that'll give you an idea of kind of what this is all about.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me go ahead and pull it up.
Do we have volume?
Not yet.
Can you hear the
No.
video?
Nope.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Debbie, let me send you the link in the chat on here.
Okay.
Okay, and if you could share it, maybe we'll have volume.
Well, this is Karen. Maybe what you could do is restart it. There's an extra thing that you have to click for sharing the audio. It's over on the right-hand side, I think, on your share page.
Let me stop sharing. Let's try this again. An entire screen. Oh, I see it. Share audio. To share audio, share a tab instead. Okay, so
Yeah, you
let's.
click those first and then click the start.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's start this over.
Parents are asking, what is LifeWise Academy? LifeWise is a program that pulls public school students out of class during the school day to attend Bible lessons. You may hear, don't worry, it's non-denominational. But in reality, the curriculum comes straight from Lifeway, the publishing arm of the Southern Baptist Convention. Its stated mission? To reach unchurched students. You might be thinking, it's optional. Just don't sign your kids up. But that ignores the impact on everyone else. While some kids ride a red bus to LifeWise, classmates left behind often sit idle or do busy work instead of learning. Instructional time is lost for all students. LifeWise focuses on the youngest children. 80% of participants are between 6 and 11 years old. Kids are sent back to school with candy, toys, business cards to hand out, and even promises of rewards like ice cream or pizza parties for getting classmates to join. You might assume higher enrollment means more families are choosing faith. But let's look closer. When LifeWise meets during lunch or recess, only about 21% participate. But when it replaces class time, enrollment more than doubles to 46%. Kids aren't suddenly more religious. They're choosing to skip class. And that's the strategy. Start at lunch or recess, then push into class time. Because that's the only way their enrollment really multiplies. Some will claim it's their right, but that's misleading. The Supreme Court ruled release time programs can be legal under specific conditions. They are not a guaranteed right. But isn't it free? While our schools stretch every dollar, LifeWise is fueled by millions from hidden donors using foundations like the National Christian Foundation. These funds let wealthy donors give money without disclosing who they are or what their agenda is. That means the real backers of LifeWise are hidden from the public. This money isn't local, and it isn't transparent. It's big money with a mission, and our kids' classrooms are the target. So the real question is this: whose time, whose money, and whose education is at stake? Our kids deserve uninterrupted learning. Know the facts. Protect public schools.
Okay, guys, I'm going to let Jess continue and screen share of the map to give you guys an idea of the scope and growth of the organization.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Excuse me. All right. Let me just move this stuff out of the way so we can see the whole map. Okay. If you have not been on here, I highly recommend all of you, when you get off here, take just 10 minutes afterwards. It's at respectpublicschools.com. And then there's a tab at the top that says map. This is Keith Comer's map. Like Sue said, he's in Ohio. So he's in the good fight with you all. This is a national map. Okay. That is, it might be, I would definitely say it's accurate within probably 2 weeks of the statuses of the programs on LifeWise's live website. So this gives us kind of like a baseline of what's going on nationally. As you can see, it's the steps are broken up by color coded. 0 is there's no LifeWise program. Steps 1 to 3 are the very beginning. We won't get into the minutia of it. Step 10 is it's a live program. Okay. Step 7 to 9 are also something to be extremely wary of, where they have, at that point, they've gotten approval and they're hiring their staff and getting ready to launch and doing fundraising. So it's almost a live program. This map it's interactive. Okay. Like you can, if I don't want to look at anything in steps 1 to 3, all I have to do is exit out. It's going to take a minute, not even. And it will tell you like what are the real core areas where LifeWise is expanding. LifeWise at this point it's confirmed in about 34 states. They said, and I think that the projections they give are actually pretty accurate. So I'm going to quote their figures, and that's really all we have to go off of. They say currently they're serving 50,000 students right now, and by the end of the school year, they are projecting, meaning by about May or June of next year, they will be at 100,000 students. So that's doubling the current number of children they're removing from public schools during the school day. There's also the option. I know you all are in Ohio. So let's go down to Ohio real quick and take a look. There's also the option, you can just look at your own state. Like if it's a little much to look at. So I'm going to, in the drop down, I'm going to select Ohio, and it's going to gray everything else out. Give it a second. And then you can see the kind of state Ohio is in. So step 10, if we only want to look at step 10, I'm going to check everything else off. Anything that's live is color coded purple. Okay, so these are all the live, and it's by school district, obviously. These are all of the live programs in Ohio. All right, and we'll also, I'm sorry. No, that's correct. And then if we want to look at anything else that's soon to launching, I'm going to check step 7 and 9, and I'll tell you these will likely be launching very soon. If you click on one of the school districts, you're going to get this pop up, and it's going to tell you the school district, what city it's in, what step it's on. There are also demographics built into this map, where it's going to show you the poverty level from the school, and also any non-white student enrollments. All right. You can also, each school district. And something else I want to really emphasize that isn't on this map, but it's on the LifeWise website. LifeWise's entire website is built off of federal data. So every single public school district in the United States is already loaded on LifeWise's website, ready to start a petition to start one of these programs. That's how strategic they are. I have a sales and marketing operations background, and it took me about 2 hours of learning about LifeWise and just digging into it to really understand the scale of what they're doing and why their growth is just so astronomical, like basically doubling year over year over year. It's really because it's a big sales operation. And they're also applying sales tactics, and they're also using, if you listen to them closely, they're also using like a lot of sales lingo and strategies. Okay, we can talk about them more later if anyone has any questions. Anyway, This is a program page on the Respect Public Schools, and it basically gives you a quick rundown of everything. It tells you again how many signatures they had. And again, those signatures are not necessarily local, okay, to the location. They probably mostly are, but it's not guaranteed they are. It also gives you the direct link to the LifeWise page on the LifeWise program website. Okay. And if you scroll down at the very bottom, it's not on here. There's usually like a Facebook link to go click on, but it's not here. For the live program page, most of their communication with the public I would say, is done on Facebook. Okay. There's also the option, if you feel like contacting any of these schools directly, you can click on the NCES district info. All right. This is going to take you to the federal website. All right. And it will, most of these landing pages have the school website on there. So you can directly go and find the contact info for the schools. I'm also going to call out, and this is where it's built off of federal data. Okay. Is you see this number here? This is the school's federal identifier number. All right. So it ends in 968. If you go on the LifeWise website, it's also right here. It ends in 968. So all of LifeWise's infrastructure was built off of federal data. All right. I think that's important to understand the scale and kind of like just how tactical they are. That's why they are so successful in large part. All right. There's also other things that have been captured, like contact info for the programs, email addresses. And Keith also on his Respect Public Schools website has lots of other useful info, which we won't get into too much right now. But this is just if you have not liked him on Facebook, I highly encourage you to go there. I think the logo's at the very bottom of the page right here. And also if you're on YouTube, and subscribe to both of his pages. He's taken this on, and he's definitely seems to be in the fight for the long haul. He gives very good updates and factually driven information about LifeWise. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the map?
That is an amazing undertaking, and I am so impressed.
Yes, we would be, in my opinion, I think we would be dead in the water without this map. I also want to say to people that because of the scale of LifeWise and because there's just so many components to it, there's the public school component, there's the religion component, there's the money component, there's the child safety component. It's a very challenging. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, still looking.
I'm gonna mute Lori until we've got Mike first, and then Lori. I think they have questions.
Yeah. I just want to mention this. It's a very kind of it's very challenging to kind of communicate this whole thing to someone who has no background in it. I will say when I first saw the map, I freaked out. I think showing the map to people to see the scale of what's actually happening, it's a very good resource to use. Like a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So once they can see the scale of LifeWise in the whole country, all right, it kind of breaks through all the noise, and that gets through to them. So I think that's worth mentioning.
Thank you, Jess. I'm going to go to Mike, and then I think Lori wanted to say something after that. Mike? Yes.
Thank you for this information. It's excellent. My question is, why did they highlight those two data points, non-white students, and then percentage at the low wealth or poverty level?
I mean, I can tell you why I think Keith highlighted it. I didn't build the map. I don't want to presume to speak for him. But I think it's so all of LifeWise is, I'm sure you guys know what Reaganomics is. So all of LifeWise's money flows up. Okay. All of these programs are locally funded. There's nothing, LifeWise does not contribute, I think with the exception of like one small grant once a program launches and they've met some kind of criteria. literally they provide no financial funding to these programs. So it all comes locally. So it can be, I don't know if I want to say it's a strain on a community, but I've documented a lot of programs like begging for money month to month, saying that we don't have enough money to operate. Next month, we're only whatever 20% funded this month. Whereas LifeWise is sitting on its nice big, at least the last tax return we saw, like $25 million bank account with zero debt underneath the organization. So it's important to understand the financial aspects of their tactics. And I think it's an important data point, especially considering that people's socioeconomic status is frequently tied to race. Okay. To be able to identify if an area is like majority Caucasian or not.
Thank you.
I-
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, okay, so those two data points then are important to them because they see, well, these people are hungry for money. Is that it? And we have the money. Basically, I'm speaking as them. We have money, and so we know these people are really in low wealth, and they, racially, I'm not sure why they would want to know the non-white population, but I mean,
I think it's a question of, let me jump in, Mike. What you're saying is not quite correct because the money actually flows up, not down. So LifeWise isn't going to come in and say we have money for you, okay? But I think it may speak to the vulnerability of a community.
well, how does the money float up to that?
The local programs are responsible for raising all their own money to operate.
And then who in the local community says, well, yeah, let's give money to this?
Well, whoever they can recruit. Sometimes it's school board members, sometimes it's superintendents, sometimes it's a teacher, sometimes it's a community member. Sometimes it's local churches that are hurting for, new blood, whatever, new congregants.
Parishioners.
Okay, so they say, okay, I want to pay money to be part of that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'm
Thank
still why, but that's
Lori Nevin, did you have your hand up before? Did you want to say something? I have a question.
No, I just had problems with my mute button when I logged back in. So
Okay.
sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah. I also want to, while we were talking about the money, I just want to briefly highlight, is this the right tab? This is a list of all of the donations I've been able to track down for LifeWise. Okay. Some of these are hyperlocal, like whatever, $100. Some of them, like they're getting, and this is outdated. There's more information that's since come through that I haven't updated this since July. They're getting $13 million that we don't know where it's coming from a donor advised fund. That's definitely not local funding. So that's going into, I call it life. I make a big distinction between I call it LifeWise Corporate, which is in Hilliard, Ohio, and right in Columbus, versus these local programs. I also view the local programs as they're kind of just being taken for a ride, and I don't think they understand the whole picture. It's serving a purpose for them, right? But LifeWise Corporate is getting these big donations, and some of the local programs will get smaller donations that can be sizable. Like you'll see it if you read, like some foundation gave whatever $50,000 to a local LifeWise program. Like that's where a lot of this information came through, was from articles. But you also see like the Catholic Diocese of Columbus has given LifeWise
$60,000, 10,000,
Yeah.
50,000 one year and 10,000 the next year.
Yeah. So the really, really big donations, like the 13 million, and that just what we just saw the figure, somebody pulled a report that went up to 14 million. They got another $14 million donation from the American Endowment Foundation. And if you don't know what a donor advised fund is, after this, I encourage you to Google it. It's a vehicle where someone can give money to this donor advised fund. Their identity or the organization's identity never has to be disclosed, and they tell them where they want the money to go. So it's a vehicle. Operationally, I can kind of see the bigger picture, but it can also be used to just kind of obscure the sources of funding. Okay, so we can say pretty confidently this $13 million, and then they got another $14 million donation. That is not going to trickle down to these local programs. All right, so just to touch on that.
Also, the donor advised funds are under a lot of scrutiny right now by the IRS. So there's that too. It's, to put it in a nutshell, it's dark money.
Yeah. All right, Sue, what did you think was, we only have another 20 some minutes. What do you want to cover next?
So what I thought I would do, we touched briefly on the money. And I know someone put in the chat that it's free. It's not free. To be clear, the communities have to raise a certain amount of money. I believe one of the school districts is looking for sponsors to sponsor a child for $30 a month. So there's nothing free about the program. I'm going to switch real quick and talk to and speak to the latest, like real recent developments. Jess and I have developed a relationship with a woman by the name of Rachel Snell, who used to work for LifeWise. She is actually involved in legal proceedings against them because they asked her to falsify her timesheets, and she refused, and they basically let her go. And she's pretty much been blackballed in her community. Well, and she went through mediation with LifeWise, and they made her a cash settlement offer that she did not accept. LifeWise circumvented the normal legal process and went straight to the Ohio Supreme Court and asked for something called a ministerial exemption. In other words, labor laws don't apply to churches, although they're not a church, if you ask them. Anyway, just yesterday, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled that their filing was moot, meaning she can now proceed with her unfair labor practice. And I think the second thing, Josh, she's doing is age discrimination, maybe, but defamation, I'm not sure. Guys, I got to be careful about what the part I know about is the violation of labor law. So that was a win, in fact, a big win for the Supreme Court to basically dismiss that filing by LifeWise. Sorry, the copier's going off. On the downside, I don't know a lot about it, but just the day before yesterday, an amendment was pushed through the Ohio House of Representatives requiring school districts to increase the amount of time available to release students. One of the pushbacks that school boards were able to do was limit the amount of time that those kids could be gone. And because the legislation that passed last year, known as the May Shall bill, did not specify, it just said school districts, must allow this dismissal or this release time. And so the way some of the districts pushed back was by really limiting it to I even heard one district trying to do once a month, once a semester. So anyway, that amendment got, I believe, introduced on Monday, past Tuesday, no opportunity. And now I don't know the details of how much time.
I know a little bit, just a little bit from what I just learned when I was
Okay,
site, the Ohio State House site, is that it was attached as an amendment to a completely unrelated bill. So what happened was there was no talk about it because it had nothing to do with the subject matter of the original bill, which was a good bill uh, and had bipartisan support, passed both houses. And then they threw in that amendment that was unrelated about RTRI expansion, and then it went back to get approval, and that amendment was approved. So it was very misleading. It's like what they do with Christmas tree bills toward the end of the General Assembly.
right.
It was not up on the up and up.
Also, real quickly, in the biennial budget that just passed this summer, they added to the budget. Well, one of the things that many school boards were doing was disallowing these organizations. We're just going to call them like LifeWise for lack of, an easier way to describe it. The school boards were able to disallow the promotional and marketing materials that were coming back to school. You hear them as trinkets or candies or incentives or business cards or whatever. Unfortunately, the state put in the budget that school districts are not allowed to prevent that. So they still have a very strong marketing presence in our schools. I'm going to
I think Chris
switch.
had her hand up. We have a question. I know you can't see it, probably too, but Chris Glass has a question. Getting unmuted. There
Hi,
we go.
sorry. I know in Ohio we've mandated that the schools must allow this. If it is allowed in the school, does that reflect a budget that the school has to provide for LifeWise to take their kids?
No, all that's required is parental permission.
But how's it paid for if they're saying that the community?
LifeWise, the local programs pay for it. They buy the buses, they hire the drivers or get volunteer drivers for the buses. Schools are supposed to have no role in it at all. But obviously, if you're taking some of the kids out during the school day, it's impossible for it to not impact school resources and personnel.
Right. And so are you saying before that some school districts have been able to limit the time, for example, to just lunchtime recess as opposed to instructional time?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not allowed to take them out during what is deemed core classes. So in many schools, it's lunch or recess with transportation time and everything. And I think in Upper Arlington, it allows them about 20 minutes to actually talk about the Bible or what, teach them their moral guidance. We know and have evidence and quite a list of violations of that. There are districts in Ohio, I can't name them off the top of my head, where they are leaving during core classes. We know of a district that's sending educational aides with the kids that have, issues. I'm not going to say IEPs, I don't know, but behavior, or if the kid has an aide at school, then the school pays for that aide to go to LifeWise with them. We are maintaining a pretty exhaustive list of violations. I think the issue is one of enforcement. It's fine to have policy, but if you don't have any enforcement provisions, it's not worth the paper it's written on, so to speak. I'm going to add one thing real quick here, and then we're going to move on to what we're doing right now. This just popped up at the end of last week in the Pickerington City Schools, just outside of Columbus, brought in an evangelical magician. and he he's known in many states. We think he's out of Texas, right, Jess? But he did a magic show and at the elementary school, and then the kids came home with tickets to his show at the local, I think it was a Baptist church, I'm not sure, but we've got our eye on him as well. Okay, in terms of what we're doing, first of all of our messaging is around safety and liability, and those are inextricably linked to the district. You all know as well as I know, if anything happens to one of these kids while in the custody of LifeWise, any parent is going to not only sue LifeWise, but also sue anybody at the district involved in facilitating that program. There's some huge safety concerns around how they background check or don't background check their volunteers and employees. We have done quite a bit locally here with the media. There was a 2-part series that aired a couple weeks ago on Channel 4. That was, I worked with Kyle Beachy on that. That was 2 days of coverage. Also, just a couple weeks ago, a local guy, Jim Collier, who worked with me on the voucher stuff, he wrote a wonderful op-ed for the Columbus Dispatch. It was not in the e-edition or home edition because legal issues, all the claims that are made in his op-ed had hyperlinks embedded in the article for the actual original documentation of the claims that he made. So we're doing a really good job so far with the media, at least in Ohio. We've also just spoke to this woman that works she's a professor at Fordham University. She's writing a book on separation of church and state and is keenly interested in what's going on with LifeWise. She's interviewed a bunch of us. Jess, do you want to talk about that investigative reporter that's picked up on this, or is it too early to talk about that? Jess? Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute. Which one are you? I think it's too early to talk about that.
Okay, we're gonna skip that. One thing we are all doing in our group is every time there's a violation, we are filing a complaint with the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and they are writing letters to the districts that are violating this separation. Where they're treading on public school time and mission. We had quite a few complain about this evangelical magician that came to Pickerington. We have really shifted gears into trying to help other states. I think we've done a good job. Most of Ohio knows about LifeWise. Most people don't like it. So Jess and I, we've brought in, Jess is from New Jersey. I'm from Ohio. We have Indiana, Illinois, now North Carolina, Washington State. We're working with local folks like us there that are very worried about this. Even though the founder, Joel Penton, says they are not political and don't do anything political, they wouldn't be where they are now in Ohio or anywhere else if they hadn't been behind getting that language switched from may release kids to shall release kids. And so they're very active in many of the state legislatures.
They lobbied for multiple states, the country. They actually have a map on their website to change this. There's a adult posted up Abbott. I think we know.
Is she breaking up for you guys?
Extremely.
Jess, I think you're breaking up a little bit.
That's okay. I'm having I'm on my phone Wi-Fi right now. I just got a notification my local internet is down.
Okay. Sue, do you want to take over for a minute till she gets herself?
Oh, Jess, I was going to ask you to say what you said again. I'm muted because I'm picking up a lot of background noise here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, what I was saying is that there's all kinds of reporting of LifeWise lobbying directly in these states, just like they did in Ohio, to change the laws from shall to may, or to just establish a law, because a state is at an advantage if there is no RTRI laws on the books to be able to shut LifeWise or other similar programs down. So again, I cannot emphasize how strategic LifeWise is and what they're doing. They have a whole team that just deals with lobbying. So when they say they want to be in every single public school, believe them.
Okay, that's kind of everything. I guess I'm going to go back to where we started, which is, kind of what do we need? What can you do? The biggest thing now is for you guys all to look at that map, see if you know people in any of those states and any of those school districts, even if they're just in the state, but their particular district isn't on a step yet. It's just about raising awareness. Sorry, you guys. Lock your doors. Please do not.
Okay, Jess, did you want to take over while she's getting the noise?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize. Can you hear me, Debbie?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to reemphasize what Sue was just saying, is that this is a hyper local problem rolling out at a national scale. They're really something for the most part doesn't get much more local than a school district. And it's obviously hard to find and if somebody contacts me from out of state, I'm not going to listen to them about a problem they think I have in my district. So most of the opposition, the vast majority of it, needs to be done locally. And again, these people just have no idea. They're actually getting ready to move into Philly right now. I'm right outside of Philadelphia. And I contacted a group that is aware of LifeWise, and they had kind of been eyeing the map and they know about it, but they had not taken the steps to kind of approach it as shutting it down, which I've had success in doing here in New Jersey. Currently, there's no LifeWise programs in New Jersey because I made a lot of noise when I saw they were coming into the state. So this can be counteracted if you use a very strategic approach, but again, you have to involve the local people that it is impacting.
I'm wondering though, since all of us most of us, I should say all of us, many of us are in Ohio, is there anything we can do here, since we probably don't have too many contacts out of state? But maybe we do, but I'm just wondering if there's something we can do even though it's saturated in Ohio.
Well, they're about half. There's 611 school districts in Ohio. I think they're in a little over 300. Even if they're operating in a district, I can send anybody that wants it the links to the news segments that were done a couple weeks ago. I have those files, those video files from Channel 4. I can send anybody that wants Jim's op-ed. It's really just about raising awareness. The outrage is a natural outgrowth, and people that want to get involved in pushing back will come forward and say, what can I do? We are always looking for people to help us, and it can be anything from an hour a month of keying in information in a spreadsheet to helping distribute emails or or, you know, we all the way up to testifying at school board meetings. Typically, I testified at, obviously at Upper Arlington several times and also at Worthington, but because I was a graduate, I was allowed. Westerville has an organization. So, you know, obviously looking at the districts they aren't in yet. In Ohio, looking at the districts that they are in and what step they're on, if you know or have relatives or friends in other parts of Ohio. I have a really good white paper that Jim Collier wrote that talks about the history of release time for religious instruction, the legal means that LifeWise is exploiting. I'm just going to say that the ruling in 1954 did not envision this. It was based on the fact that school kids were already getting Christian holidays off. So it was a way to get school districts to let their non-Christian students observe their non-Christian traditions and holidays. And that is just a legal loophole that LifeWise has done a really good job of
just
exploiting.
Want to add in, and I cannot emphasize this enough, that LifeWise's biggest advantage right now is their lack of awareness. LifeWise has like 2,800% more assets than Moms for Liberty does, but no one knows about LifeWise. They have more money than Turning Point USA and Moms for Liberty combined. No one knows about LifeWise. So if you could spread the word, talk to your out-of-state relatives and friends, please let them know. I also want to really emphasize, and I don't think this really sinks in for most people, this is the only type of program, and as far as I'm aware, they're the only organization doing this en masse because of the case law under SCOTUS, because this is a federal law. Federal law, legally, federal law always supersedes state law. Okay. Given the law that they're operating under, they can literally go into any public school in the entire country and say, we are going to start this program. There is literally, if they want to take it, I'm not a lawyer. However, it seems if they want to take the legal steps, and they haven't gone this far where they're suing individual school districts, they could say, we want to do this here and you can't stop us. They literally have stumbled upon a loophole. Like Sue was saying, this was not, it doesn't seem like this was the intended use, this kind of multi-level marketing mix of a franchise that they basically rolled out nationally. This use of the religious release time laws. So that because of that law, it's I call it a legal golden ticket that they are now using to enter public schools and remove students from public schools. In theory, any group could do this under a religious premise. So it's really important to understand that.
Thank you. I wonder if the schools that already have it very active part of the school district, what would you recommend that those people in those districts do about raising awareness in schools that already have it?
That's a really good question. We have it in Upper Arlington. I did a public records request when I first got involved to try to figure out how they got the door open in Upper Arlington. That I really think we continue to raise awareness. I am in Upper Arlington. I use social media all the time to post the latest violations. If just continue to focus on safety and liability. You know, it seemed when Senator Brenner asked him about insurance on the Made a Shall bill, and Joel Penton said, liability insurance, oh, we have liability insurance. And we accept liability. They didn't until they were forced to. They knew they couldn't continue. But school districts need to look into the limits of their liability. They need to look into their safety records. There's been bus accidents. They're just discovered a program that was set to open literally like the next day in a paint factory
So let's clarify that. I didn't
Okay,
discover
we'll
it.
talk about that. Yep.
Okay, yeah, there was so part of and to me this is I think also really important to understand. Everyone is focused on the religious aspect of LifeWise. But I don't think that's the most important talking point. I think for a lot of people, once you start talking about religion, unfortunately, it becomes very divisive, for better or worse. I think the most important talking points are the money and child safety. All right, which are really universal, right? If a group is inappropriately spending funds or hoarding money that seems contrary to their stated mission, it can raise red flags. There was a program, and it is operating now, but not in the original place it was approved in Indiana. There was this is a hyper local issue because we obviously going to have eyes everywhere. There was a program that LifeWise approved in Indiana to operate in the conference room of a chemical factory where they employed felons and at least one registered sex offender. And the media, unfortunately, has not reported on this. C has covered it in at least one or two of the webinars. They're aware of it. But this is the type of oversight they lack in their operations. They talk about fundraising. They call it also trust raising all of the time. The money, the money, the money. Cole Barron's in one of the most recent interviews with, and I can get the clips for this and we'll send it out after this. One of the interviews he did very recently with Joel Pettin, the CEO of LifeWise, asked, what are your child safety protocols? How do you keep these kids safe? Because you got to understand, most of these local programs, like a corporate LifeWise employee will never visit, right? Like they're in somewhere in Montana and there's like one program in the state. In Ohio too, like they probably don't visit most of the programs, but Joel could not really give him a direct answer. Well, we have protocols. Oh, everyone watches these safety trainings. However, he never states we have a dedicated child safety team. And that is unacceptable for an organization that's serving 50,000 students with $25 million under their belt. There is zero reason they should not have a dedicated child safety team. Their background checks are also insufficient. Zach, who's done great work under C, he exposed that he was able to become a volunteer, and he has I don't know if he's a felony, but I don't think it's a felony, but he has a criminal background.
Can I stop you and tell you,
yes,
when she says C, she means formerly Parents Against LifeWise, now Secular Education Association. Zachary Parrish was who she's referring to, who was hired despite or allowed to volunteer despite his criminal background. He'd be the first one to say, I never should have been approved. He's not even allowed to go on field trips with his daughter's class. So
Zachary, if some of you remember, a couple years ago, Zachary joined one of our Zooms to tell us a little bit about LifeWise at that time.
Yep. So I guess we can open it to questions. I don't know, Debbie, that I answered your question, but about what you do in districts that already have the program. Honestly, just continuing to raise awareness stigmatizes it. And hopefully will make parents that are letting their kids go maybe think twice about it. I do want to say real quick, because I forgot, on that video, it talks about the kids that don't go to LifeWise potentially not doing anything, because teachers can't teach any kind of content or curriculum when some of the kids are gone. We do know in Zachary's case, his second grade daughter was sent to a study hall, second grade study hall, right? But I will tell you, for example, in Upper Arlington, they missed something. The kids missed something called explorations, where the entire grade level comes together and does cool stuff, like projects, collaborate between classrooms. While lunch and recess are still probably the predominant time they're taking kids, they are permitted to take them out of art, music, gym, Um, it's really a sad state of affairs, you guys.
Thank you. Patty's got her hand up. You're muted, Patty. There we go.
Hi, you hear me now? We've talked about a little bit about this in Indivisible. I'm always curious because of being a former teacher, how many of religions are, other than LifeWise now, are the schools dealing with? Like, is a teacher then having to release for a Muslim story, a Muslim group, or any of the other denomination type things, or Jewish? So are the schools getting contacted by those religions, and then having to juggle? Do they do them at the same time, or they have to, I was just wondering, if you're a teacher now, you just go crazy trying to schedule all these kids of different faiths being pulled from the classroom. So I was wondering about if you guys had heard anything about how the school districts deal with that, or the school teachers, or whatever.
Well, that's been one of our strongest arguments, is the slippery slope that this presents itself, because this isn't LifeWise specific. They're just the first out of the gate. We know Michigan has a couple competing programs. We know Marysville City Schools was the first to start operating a satanic temple, which isn't what you think it is. So go look at what they do. And I would say they do more moral and helpful education than about anything. But they started a program called the Little Hellions, something like that. And one of the Marysville elementary school has a couple kids going to that. I will be honest with you, and that's to prove a point, because this door has just been thrown wide open. I have a personal opinion, this is strictly my opinion, that the reason LifeWise is taking these kids by bus or van, or in some cases personal car, off site, is I think they're going to be uniquely positioned to take advantage of the expansion in school vouchers. And I personally predict, Joel was asked specifically about this and denied this, but I personally believe that they're positioning to be the largest non-public religious school in the country. He claims that's not the case. If it wasn't the case, I don't know why they wouldn't be doing this after school, because they can even do it after school on school property. Or before school, or on weekends, or whatever. So there's billions and billions and billions of dollars being freed up by state legislators to fund vouchers. As you guys know, our Secretary of Education, her name's escaping me, just awarded, I think, $100 million, $50 million to Ohio to help promote charter schools, to help pay for charter schools. So it's a fast-moving freight train, but what we're seeing in terms of some of these local programs actually begging for money, begging for someone to sponsor a child to go to LifeWise at $30 a month, we do think we're slowing them down. And again, all you got to do is tell people the facts. The facts just speak for themselves and will raise alarms in most people's brains. This isn't right. I'm asking people to pay super close attention to your school board elections. Every school board candidate, whether they're an incumbent or a new candidate, needs to be asked very specific questions about their position on allowing programs like LifeWise to come in, and whether they would be in favor of keeping the restrictions pretty tight, asking LifeWise to complete the same level of background checks. I'm FBI and BCI fingerprinted and background checks. I have to do it. I think I paid to do it every 3 years, but I just had to do it again to sub in another district. So, it's just keep telling people what they're doing, and that will motivate some people to get more involved.
So just to follow up, since you're in a lot of schools, Are you aware then of other religions being in the school system and then having to the teachers, they're being pulled out for any other type of religion? Have you
Not
guys?
yet.
No.
Not yet. Not yet.
So really, LifeWise, and then the Satanic Temple group. There's really no wow. I mean, it's surprised that the rest of
But
them.
we should clarify the Satanic Temple Hail program, which is it's an acronym for something. They will only set up shop in a school district. They will only open a program in a school district where there is another RTRI program operating. It's more of a tactic than anything else to raise, because a lot of people hear satanic and they don't react well, understandably. Just given
Right. I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised that maybe a Jewish group or something would just feel pretty, violated the fact that they're bringing this group in and interfering with the rest of the students, depending on who stays. And then I'm just surprised some of those religions that are more out in the open would want to try to, have their group in there. But that's a surprise. Yeah.
Give it time. Give it time. It's coming. It's coming. LifeWise has moved very, very quickly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Karen Lee has her hand up.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I'm following up on what Patty just said. It seems to me that we should not be afraid of the other religious groups, except for the ones that have a really big school operation right now. They're pretty well set and they're getting a lot of vouchers. Can you hear me? Because I can't hear myself, but Deb, my voice is also gone today. But I'm thinking, like to reach out to people that within a particular congregation that would not want their kids going to it. But obviously, LifeWise is appealing to probably some kids who don't go to Sunday school or Saturday school or whichever. And so the other denominations, the clergy especially, should be very interested in drawing families back in. I doubt that they would be very interested in going to war with LifeWise. That is to take them out on an ideological or philosophical basis. But they might be willing to run some special programs of their own, as Patty says, like within the same time frame. Maybe 2 or 3 volunteers from the temple or from the oh dear, the word escapes me. But from the other churches would come and go through the rigor that you go through as public school teachers and do it all right and invite some kids that would like to come to their program and start, competing a little bit with the LifeWise fun. Failing that, a program, as you were saying, within a school where all of the classes can go together. And if they take me out of art class to go to LifeWise, if I stay in school, the art class that we're going to be doing finger painting and smearing stuff on the walls, and it's going to be really fun. It's like compete with them while at the same time the serious legal stuff is going on to combat their whatever it is that they're working on. But I agree with Sue that they're probably working on killing the public schools too.
I do think forcing the teachers to compete with LifeWise as far as helping, saying, oh, we're going to do this fun thing, while you guys are in LifeWise, that puts a lot of pressure on teachers that they may not have the resources to handle. And particularly if most of their class is gone, that's going to be a stretch to ask that of teachers. Just as I think most people who are former educators understand that is a lot to do.
The question, Deb, then is, excuse me, but isn't it like looking and seeing how could we do that? We used to have parents who would come in and help in the classrooms, classroom assistants. It's something along those lines where people who really do care and are very concerned about public schools and stuff, we do spend a lot of time at the console typing out emails that nobody reads, but, maybe just going back in, getting a few people together or asking questions, dumb questions to the Dispatch Facebook or to somebody else. It's like, I heard that they don't even have to do a background check on their people. Have you looked into that? That really, or I heard that there was this big bus accident. It was in another state, but you could put that in. What town did that happen in? Don't worry, dear, it happened in California. Still, there's a lot of ways.
Karen, we're doing all that and more.
Cool.
We're doing
Cool.
all that. There is a Clergy Against LifeWise Facebook group. I think it has 70 some clergy members in it. We have clergy testify at the State House, testify at school board meetings. We're very active in social media. I put a lot in Upper Arlington Discussion Forum, which has 13,000 members. I have to be careful because I almost do too much. But yeah, you're absolutely right. To find someone to step forward and start a competitive program, I've been trying in Upper Arlington for almost 2 years now. No one's interested in or has the time or wherewithal, and I can't stop what I'm doing to do that. My value is doing stuff like this.
Thank you, Sue. Janie's got her hand up. Oh, you're muted. You're muted still.
Okay. I have two things that I want to say. First of all, I was an elementary principal for 23 years, and I don't know in 23 years we ever had something called a study hall for second graders. I don't even know what that would be. I mean, are they bringing an aide in for a study hall? Or so that's my first question. My second is, do you have a list of people in different areas? Like if I wanted to speak to the Pickerington Board of Education, which we have spoken to numerous times on vouchers for Ohio, and they have done nothing on it. Do you have a list of clergy around here that is opposed to this?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Could we get that list by any chance?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, let me clarify. We don't have a spreadsheet or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm in the Clergy Against LifeWise Facebook group. They let me get in, even though it's they're trying to really keep it super tight on just clergy.
Good.
But yeah, I mean, I can probably create a spreadsheet.
Good.
Like that.
Because that would help us if we were going to the board to have some pastors or priests or whomever that we could either refer to or take with us.
Oh yeah, there's a couple that have been pretty actively testifying at board meetings, and I will get you their names.
Okay, thank you so much.
I would have a question about that. Was that something you would want spread around if it sounds like a tight group? Or would it be just, we ask you if we're having to go to a school board or something? I just wondered how available to make.
I probably should not make a list out of that Facebook group. I guess, Jeannie, what I'll say is if you need someone to testify at a board meeting, let me know.
Okay. Yes.
We'll find you a clergy member.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And Karen Andermills has her hand up.
Hi, it's actually Dory Andermills. It says Karen, we're both here. I'm just trying to find out if there are things as an individual that one can do to help. I mean, are there people that we should write letters to, or how do we I mean, I know we can talk to the people that we know, but you say to get the word out. I don't quite know how to do that.
So writing an op-ed to a local paper is a big help.
Well, wait, Karen, where are you? What school district are you in?
Franklin County.
What school district?
Oh, Columbus. I'm sorry.
You're in Columbus schools. Yeah, we've done an awful lot with the media in Columbus, and Columbus actually, this is like they're playing chess with LifeWise. They just said, okay, now the state is saying we're not allowed to disallow the distribution of marketing materials when the kids come back to school. However, Columbus City Schools came out and said, but those items cannot leave their backpack. Again, there's no enforcement. So yeah, I mean, I would contact your board. I can send you the whole background paper on RTRI and LifeWise and how it came to be and where we're at now. we've done a really good job in Central Ohio. The school boards are well aware of them. They're trying to navigate these rules, and some school districts are being very brave. Some boards are being very brave in keeping them out. If I will say, if LifeWise senses any kind of pushback, they will go. They go for the low hanging fruit. They will go to another district where the majority of the board is would tend to be on their side. You know, there's a lot of conservative board members in these districts. That I think the big thing is right now, just find out where your school board candidates stand on this, and
Okay, that's helpful.
yeah, and work, go volunteer for those candidates that are trying to keep the kids in school during the school day.
Excellent.
And tell you they think it's wrong, and go door to door for them, and get involved in their campaigns, because that ultimately that's where the rubber meets the road. We're working on the legislative end and the national end of it, but it's like just said, it's hyper local, and the situation in each district is different. Westerville unanimously rescinded their RTRI policy very bravely, and there are more districts than not that are just going to allow it because the board members don't want to push back.
Well, I understand though that Westerville, I'll get Chris had her hand up, but I just about that RTRI thing, I understood that the legislation that followed that was that, for instance, Worthington decided to get rid of their RTRI program in advance of that legislation. But when that legislation hit, I didn't think they had a choice. I mean,
right. What they did, they advanced dated their rescind, however you call it, their rescinding of it. They advanced dated it, knowing that the legislation, waiting to see if that legislation was signed, by DeWine, and it was. So their LifeWise program that continued uninterrupted. That was also a unanimous decision. Westerville actually rescinded, and the LifeWise program stopped that day.
So they don't have, so Westerville, you're saying
they
that
had to reinstate.
Despite the legislation, Westerville still can ban it. Is that what you're saying?
Before they rescinded release time effective immediately, and then however long passed before the legislature said you must have it, then that program restarted.
I gotcha. Okay, thank you. That's a really good clarification. Chris had her hand up.
Yeah, who in the school, where does the request go to? Does it go to the principal? Does each teacher have to sign off?
No, it goes. They typically work with principals.
So the principal would just send, so they don't have the right to say, your kid wants to go from 2 to 3, but we want to have them go during recess.
No, I mean, I would say there's district policy, but LifeWise does not approach the board or the superintendent. They go directly and work with the staff at the different schools.
Thank you. Janie has her hand up.
Yes, I would say from being a principal, it does go through the superintendent, even though they may say the principal makes the decision. They do not. I can assure you, they do not. Every program like this would either go behind the scenes through the superintendent, but the principals would not make that decision on their own.
I think it depends on the school district, and I know the environment has changed. I'm not sure how long ago you were a principal, Janie?
About 5 years ago, and I don't think it has changed. I know a number of principals, and I don't care. It doesn't, that principal will not make that decision, or could not make that decision without the support of the superintendent, who would also be checking with the board. I have my superintendent certificate too. I know it would be a very unusual district that the principals would be making that decision.
Okay, in the example of the evangelical magician, that was permitted by a principal and the superintendent was unaware of it.
Yes,
And
a program like that, a one-time program coming in, absolutely, the principal would make that decision, but not a program that's ongoing. I totally agree. Yes, a program like a one-time shot deal, yes, she would make that decision, or he.
okay.
I think, oh, it's not Karen. It's what, I can't remember what you said your name was. You have your hand up again. Andrew Mills. Maybe the,
I don't know how that happened.
oh, it just didn't come down again. That's fine. That's no problem.
I'm not, oh, lower hand, look right there.
There you go. Okay, who else has a question? This has been very enlightening. There's a lot to learn, and I know there's going to be a lot of follow-up. Just one thing to let you know, we've been having issues. My particular email was identified as spam. I was blocked temporarily. I could no longer send out messages without getting about 160 of them blocked permanently. So what we've done, just to let you know, is we have switched over to using MailChimp through Central Ohio Indivisible. And that's where you got when you got your last item, last email, that's where it came from. So be that way going forward. Some of the changes are that I might have to get the information to the formatter a little bit ahead of time. So there may be some things that don't get included. What I had to do also was create an additional email address, which I'm going to use for like reminders. When you got a reminder yesterday, that came from my new email address that's not personal. But it's also a Gmail account. So that's what's happening. Hopefully, I mean, it seemed to work out pretty well last time, but it's kind of a juggle and it's a learning curve for me. So if we get a little screw up, I'll just ask your indulgence and we'll do the best we can to get it going. So that's the situation, just to let you know. Debbie, did you have something you wanted to say? I don't know if you had your hand up. Yeah.
Not about this topic. Thank you, though.
Okay. Did you have another thing you wanted to jump in about?
I was just going to add in the beginning when they were talking about the viewing of at Ohio State. I don't know if anyone caught it this week. It was on the news that The Rock Johnson has a new movie out that came out about an ultimate fighting champion named Mark Kerr. And his sparring partner and best friend was Mark Coleman and is featured in the movie. And he is one of the wrestlers from Ohio State and is in the documentary. So if you were into UFC championships or you know about that, just a little aside, that was all. I wanted to say that when she was talking about the movie, but
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just a reminder then, if you are interested in seeing this documentary and want to go to Chris's house and see it, please shoot her an email. And again, it's on Sunday, so you will be getting the next item before then, and it'll have that link in there or the email address in there. Or Chris can put her email address in the chat if you want to do it that way. Okay, Andrew Mills, what is your first name again? I'm sorry.
Dory.
All right, okay, great. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, we're busy Sunday and I would really like to see that. Is there any other way to get to see that?
Chris had said earlier that she would be willing to do it at other times. So she's going to put her email address into the chat and just go ahead and email her directly, and maybe you can work out a time because fortunately that was very nice of her to agree to, but she said earlier that she would be willing to open her home and other times that would work for people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll do that.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Anybody else have a question for Susan or Jess? I don't know where Susan went. She might have gone off screen. Uh-oh, I think she might have lost the connection.
She left a note that said she had to get back to class.
Oh, she okay. Okay, we'll have Jess wrap up a little bit, and it is 1:30, so we've gone a long time. But it has been very informative, and we will have a follow-up. I don't know if I'm going to get the video to be able to be done before I have to get the list out, but we'll do the best we can as soon as we can. And even if I have to send it out as a separate email with just that link, I will do that. And that should go through on my other email address. So, oh, I guess Jess already left too. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll have to do our thanks with them through the official means. But anyway, thanks everybody for showing up. And I will get things out as soon as we can. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we're going to have hopefully the chat saved. Are you able to do that,
I
Gina?
am. I have it.
Okay, I'm going to, great. Thank you very much.
You are
Stop
so welcome.
recording, and thank you all. And thanks especially to Sue and to Jess.